All right. Best of 3 to determine who gets the final spot of the qualifier. Bottom left of 2,000 atmospheres, it is Serral. Top right, it is ShowTimE. It's only a week. An entire week of not streaming is actually really bad for streamers. Now, in general, especially if you're good at not looking at the peaks and valleys and basing your self-worth off of those alone, yeah, it evens out. But it's usually a fairly big loss of potential revenue anyways. Not just people who would be using their Prime subs on you for the entire, like, 9 days. But also that person who is like, man, I've been watching them a lot. I should probably give them a sub. Next time they're online, you don't get that for an entire week. And there's tons of people who, like, don't resub automatically. They sub and cancel right off the bat so that they can choose, like, when they can sub. Momentum's a pretty big thing, too. Entirely lose out momentum. And if it was only 9 weeks, or 9 weeks, yeah, 9 days out of, you know, the entire year or something, then of course, yeah, it doesn't matter. But anyways. I am incredibly thankful that I can do pretty much both Twitch stream and StarCraft 2 commentate, which helps makes up for those losses. Someone like Roddy, who has both a very successful StarCraft 2 casting career and a very successful Twitch stream, is also so successful because he's a bit crazy, to be honest. He's a bit crazy. And he's also crazy likable. A trait not everyone has. Yeah, it's a bit crazy, as in, he makes sure to, like, if he has, like, a 9 a.m. flight, he makes sure to stream from 7 to 9. You're like, well, it's cutting it close, man. ShowTimE versus Serral, though. Let's talk about these two titans for a hot second. I don't think I've talked about too much. You should recognize the names, but Serral does find himself down in the lower bracket fighting ShowTimE because he got knocked down here by MaxPax, who he usually didn't have much trouble before today. Or yesterday, technically. Used to not have too much trouble. But I at least saw one of their games yesterday. MaxPax plays sometimes like a bit of a tricky style, sure, kind of throws off the Zerg opponent, but he also just played really well. Didn't see the second game at all. So Serral clearly has some weaknesses, even though his PvZ overall is just really, really, really good. In the same situation against ShowTimE, Serral is usually good to go. He's usually gonna win. 2-0 even. There was a couple of times where ShowTimE got awfully close, some 3-2s that still ended favorably for Serral, but damn, they were close. And, well, it's been a while since that's been the case. I have no doubt that they trade victories all the time on ladder and in tournaments, but usually Serral is gonna win a best of ZvP. Still one of his best matchups, still one of the best at it in general. But something about MaxPax. Maybe ShowTimE got to actually look at those VODs even for a second and kind of has a general idea as to what could be done. He's going to go into the triple Oracle, but then not right into the Robo. He actually... Well, I mean, he does still go pretty quickly into the Robo, but 6 Adepts. This is 5. 1 Adept stayed at home. 1 Adept... Oh, the wall, of course. Doi. You need a wall. You need a door. So 5 Adepts. Well, actually, that's not a lot either. That is not a lot either, but it is just enough that if Serral's cutting corners, and Serral isn't cutting corners, he just has his lings in the wrong position. Whoops! Then they can get a lot of damage done. 1 Oracle does get taken down by the looks of things. because the queens were in the proper position, but the lings weren't. So 10 drones go down. The adepts not going to shade, of course, because the lings would have gotten a surround on them. Just stick around, get recalled. All of them will live with full health too. Not bad at all for ShowTimE. It does suck to lose that other Oracle. Now he only has one flying around doing harassment, as one stayed back home to make sure lings didn't do a run by, but so be it. Serral is going to go into +1 melee, actually. I'm gonna go into Aspire. Oh, I just clicked that Spire. Okay, all right, yeah, Serral being very tricky. He's gonna go for a hidden Spire. Now, Serral, I feel like personally, I've just witnessed him more than a lot of the Zergs actually try and go for the Spire play that is like, kind of slipped in there, you know, like the 8-10 mutas run by on the roaches, almost like a ZvZ, I suppose, but this should entail a lot of mutas. A lot. Maybe not mass like we saw Lambo do, because that was also a bit of a desperate / in the moment type of decision. Like, oh, this worked out really well, let's do it. But Serral may be going to go up to 16 mutas. Maybe a +1 flyer. And this will be a big surprise. Hallucination's trying to scout for pretty much exactly that. For exactly the presence of Aspire. And instead what it's going to see is technically 200 missing. Ooh, excellent stasis trap. Oof. But how, you know, can anyone really tell the 200 is missing? It's still going to see a Roach Warren, still going to see an upgrading evolution chamber, it's going to see a Baneling Nest, an infestation pit, all the usual things. It just doesn't scout the Spire. Which currently Serral is banking minerals and gas to make +1 right off the bat. And then let's see when he starts making mutas. 10 right off the bat, 11 right off the bat, no, a hive right off the bat. I mean, I think this is borderline keeping up appearances, but also, like, legitimately playing the rest of the game. 10, 11, 12. Okay, that's all of his gas. So 12 mutas gonna be coming over to ShowTimE's base without his knowledge. No indication whatsoever. He's gonna be entirely ill-prepared. Now, he was against Lambo as well, and the first wave of mutas weren't actually that bad. Maybe ShowTimE can recover pretty quickly, but he's also doing a push, which might make it a little bit awkward. I have to recall it. Good force fields, good force fields. No Ravagers quite yet, so really, really good force fields. But here come the mutas. I don't think that's what mutas sound like, but maybe they do. Flap, flap, flap just doesn't sound as cool. 13 probes go down pretty quickly. ShowTimE, though, still managing to both warp in and micro on the front lines. Excellent dodge away from the corrosive biles. Does he have enough to push this issue? No, he does not. No, he does not. Even if Disruptor got a good hit, that's a lot more Serral coming forward. ShowTimE is, gonna lose. GG. Not nearly a similar hold to his game versus Lambo. The first 10 mutas from Lambo killed like 7 probes, and he was on 4 bases and kind of was okay. Then a Ling run by happened. Now that game was the mutas killing 25 probes, still being alive, and his army doing absolutely nothing. Not bothering a base, not being large enough to actually win a fight. So you give up. Sucks. A lot of pros hate playing versus max packs, or pros... Are people just memeing? Feels bad for a 17-year-old trying to break in. I've never once taken the sentence pros hate playing versus X as a personal attack. I'm guessing max packs doesn't either. If anything, it's a bit of a compliment. Now, if they hate him, and they're not practicing with him because they hate him as a person, I mean, that would obviously be a real bummer, but I'm pretty sure that's not the case. I think they are still practicing with him, even if they hate playing him in competition. He seems like he's a very nice guy. Don't know anything about him, of course. Don't even know what he looks like, but we've heard at least one interview. At least one. Bottom left is Serral, top right is ShowTimE. Talking about max packs, just because he was the one to qualify over Serral. So it is, you know, it's kind of topical. A Protoss can beat Serral. A Protoss from the European region. It is possible. But it wasn't ShowTimE last game. Not at all. No idea that there was going to be a Spire. I mean, I honestly don't know how you're supposed to tell that that's, that's the case. I guess if ShowTimE had not been looking to pressure, that's probably one big difference where he is able to handle the mutas better, even as a surprise. And kind of goes, oh, what the hell? And then takes half the damage, warps in the units, stays steady on 4 bases, and kind of grumbles to himself while he plays the rest of the PvZ. But even then, I mean, it's just a very difficult thing to go up against. It feels like you're almost, if you don't see the Spire, it feels like the Protoss is almost having to hope that the Spire either A, isn't used very much, like it's 8 mutas, not 16, or B, hits like the right base for them, the base that has already mined out a little, has a cannon for whatever reason, is more warp-inable, like positioning wise. The Sim City isn't as bad, you know what I'm talking about? Like it's very subtle things, but it kind of feels sometimes like if you don't see the Spire, the Protoss kind of has to be a little hopeful. And that, you know, makes sense. If X race doesn't see Y technology, they're gonna hope that it messes up because they can't do anything else about it. But it just seems especially brutal for PvZ. I have always looked at the Spire play from Zerg for basically all 10 years of StarCraft 2, but especially a time in Heart of the Swarm, and then now in Legacy of the Void, where I'm just like, it feels like it's supposed to be really good. Feels like it. If it was so damn good, everyone would always do it, of course. So I'm not saying that it's overpowered. I just look at it and I'm like, what does mere mortal ShowTimE do against that? Somehow figure out that there's a Spire after he witnessed a hive being started. Maybe he can see that the drone count's a little bit too low for someone going into such a late game. Maybe he can combine all his scouting together and be like, drone count's a little low. Army's not that big. What's going on? But that seems really difficult. Well, not gonna think on that too much. While ShowTimE has had his fair share of bops because of hidden Spires, he's also had his fair share of incredible holds and equivalent to swatting a fly. And I'm like, oh my god, ShowTime's in a lot of trouble, and then he just warps in and it's like, oh, never mind. Just kidding, I don't, okay, whatever. But now we're on Jagannata. Serral actually not going to take the forward base, which a lot of Zergs, almost every Zerg does on this map. He wasn't blocked by a probe by the looks of things, so this is actually just his direct intention, what he wanted to do from the get-go, is get this hatchery over to the right side. Generally, that would mean that not a queen walk's going to happen, but as I was talking about with Lambo, it seems like Zergs kind of agree that maybe queen walking versus ShowTimE is the worst thing to do. This actually is a build where ShowTimE, again, might be a little vulnerable. I guess he's going to get a Robo soon, but it's a double Stargate build. Serral is not set up at all for a Queen Walk, so what is his plan this game? So far, so safe against any Adept surprises. Serral apparently one of the most consistent Zergs to wall, so that if it's an Adept surprise, he can at least save his natural and his main. I did ask Lambo about this. And it just seems, I was like, okay, so if it's so good, why doesn't every Zerg do it? I was being that brat in school. And yeah, his response was like, well, sometimes honestly laziness, and other times it's because the probe blocked you and there's not enough creep spread, which, you know, totally makes sense, but it's not something that I'm like really paying attention to from all the Zergs I'm seeing. And I'm like, yeah, Serral's the only one who ever does it super reliably. It's not like in a TvP matchup or something where a forward wall can actually be dangerous in certain scenarios. This wall is basically never dangerous. If your wall is the reason you die to like a force field, it means that your third base had also crumbled, so you're probably already dead anyways. Yeah, well. The game continues on. Robo wasn't made. Robotics Bay is on the way. Serral is going to go for his trio of technology. This time, no Hidden Spire. But it does seem like he likes having that as an option. You can see how many gas are taken pretty high if you haven't seen the Spire. That's a good point. Gas timings are very revealing. It just seems so unlikely that you're going to actually scout every single gas, since they're going to be on 4 bases. It's 8 total gases to mix and match. Plus, I would still say, like, going up to Hive, you probably still need a fuck ton of gases, right? I mean, this is a game where he's not hiding his Spire, and he could actually maybe not even use it. Maybe he just builds it and doesn't use it. We've seen that from Serral. And yet he takes all 8 gases, lickety split. I don't know. But ShowTime's Queenwalk response, he just goes for, I mean, from what I can understand, a very fast robo, so the disruptor timings from him are very quick. And you don't really want to push into someone who has disruptors ASAP. You want to ideally push into someone who's trying to, like, upgrade charge or something and isn't even there yet. 2 Stargates, 2 carriers. Really quick. Or 3 Stargates, my bad. So 3 carriers. Overseer sees every little detail. Serral's already upwards to 5 bases. Going up to 90 drones, though. He's getting a second Spire, as he did not use his initial one to try any type of shenanigans. It could have worked, because we've seen it before. Even against a Stargate player, we've seen a couple of mutas still do a surprising amount of damage. But nope, not going to do it this time around. Right into that macro game. 1-1 on the way for the Lings and Broodlings, technically. Greater Spire, second Spire, Ultraless Cavern, Centrifugal Hooks, 4 Vipers, everything, and the kitchen sink. Which, if you threw a kitchen sink at ShowTime, even he would probably crumble, but don't do that. The Queen's Promenade. I'm gonna say that. It just, the Queen Walk is so dirty that you really don't want to make it fancy. Yeah, ShowTime does triple Oracle in a robo a lot. Not this time around. He does seem to prefer this build or this style of play on Jagannatha specifically, because so far it's been, you know, a bit similar situation of his ZvP versus Lambo. Serral actually adding on those ultras. So I mentioned this in the Lambo game on this map too. And I said, like, maybe it depends on what he sees the ground to air ratio is. They are really good at taking out the High Templars on the grounds. And then, depending on if there's anything else on the ground, they're a bit useless, yeah? They can, you know, move past the army and then start attacking SAC defense and probes, but Lambo just went for, you know, fairly quick Broodlords and then target fired as quick as he possibly could, and it worked out 2 out of 3 of the engagements, I want to say. Oh. Well, hot damn, that actually wasn't a wall, by the way. It looked like there was a Ling there. Anyways, it was a almost full surround. And that was enough to tear down the +2 air attack, which ShowTime really does once. He's going to replace that Cybernetics core with 2 Cybernetics core. Makes a lot of sense, and probably just build a gateway here to make up for it. Oh boy. Oh geez. Oh lord. I'm glad I got water. Oh my god, those ultras. This is before their speed. The acceleration zone just made them waddle like fast penguins. terrifying. Good feedback so far, actually. Viper's doing absolutely nothing. Ultras are transfused, because, well, the energy's always better than straight up losing a unit. But that was a bit of a failure there. Serral not finding any success, not even tearing down SAG defense, which it could be one of those ripple effect things. Tear it down now, run by it later. Not now. Basically, Serral just ran headfirst into a Protoss army that went, oh, that was easy, and then just counterattacked immediately. No reason not to. There is a reason for ShowTimE to now, I think, 12, 20 seconds later to be scared, because he's got to consider Serral's remax potential. But yeah, definitely easy enough to go forward, kill this hatchery, and back away to your SAC defense. ShowTimE seems to be in a really good position, but Serral, I know he's pretty good at this late game thing. Someone has to be. Mothership on the way, flux veins on the way, everything on the way. Serral even rebuilding those queens. I don't know if he really needs injects. A couple won't hurt. 54 larvae though. But looking to continue transfusing the ultras, I guess. Which is another reason why I also got those ground upgrades. Excuse me. It's not like he ever really went into a lot of roaches. He never went into hydras, so the +1 missile is like a artifact dug up from the past. Ultra run by is very unsuccessful so far. Very unsuccessful. A carrier looks like it got abducted, so it was in the wrong place. Gets taken down. Something happened. Resource trades, pretty low, I guess. Not really reason for them to be engaging into each other. There was so much build-up in this game. And I'm sure when they actually do collide, we'll see a big old jump there, but still in the 4 digits for resources lost. With such expensive units, they're just testing each other. Carriers versus ultras is pretty good for carriers, right? I mean, literally, if it was just carriers versus ultras, then yes. But ultras can be surprisingly good, surprisingly helpful is a reason Serral's getting them. They do clear out the High Templars with, you know, an A move, basically. It's a lot easier. You don't really have to worry about them like you would have the Brood Lords, I would argue. And I think in this case, they don't take as much supply, right? Just the differences of Lambo versus Serral's macro game, specifically. Lambo did make like 15 Brood Lords. And wasn't always successful in stomping out the High Templars, but the same thing could happen with Ultras. They're not always successful. Then the Ultras can be really good at run-bys, clearing out SAC defense. They're never really supposed to do much more. I feel a little bit bad about the Ultras, actually, in late game. They're useful, but still feel for them. Now ShowTimE does have to respond to the Ultras. It can't let his High Templars just die right off the bat, because Ultras don't die that quickly to carriers. They would die about as quick as anything else to Void Rays, I suppose. Anything else that's armored, but the Interceptor's little doot doesn't really kill Ultras that quickly. So you do want something on the ground to kind of protect them. Either literally your body blocking the High Templars or the Mortal Archons, or the actual damage output from those units suddenly does start to nullify the Ultra potential. And then maybe we do have to talk about the Brood Lords just focus firing. We're going to be talking a lot of concepts as we wait for something to happen here. Yep, something's happening. ShowTimE's actually pushing forward. He does have 6 bases. While the banks aren't incredible yet, they will be getting rather large rather quickly as they try to engage or look to engage. I don't know if actually ShowTimE should engage. Spore Crawlers are here, helping to take out Interceptors. Pretty much the only job, actually. Serral's not gonna take the fight. Nope, it's gonna go clear out some harassing units over on the right side, which I believe got a kill. Go ahead and abduct the mothership. Okay, well, sorry, mothership. But Serral, I mean, he's consolidating so he doesn't make a mistake either on the left or right side, but that does mean he's lost now 2 hatcheries. A decent amount of sack defense, and I think just took a disruptor to the face. Well, that would be a good fungal if something else also added to it. Just fungals doesn't actually hurt in many of these units that much. I mean, 4 fungals would pop all the high Templars. I think that's the magic number, right? But carriers, if it's just a fungal, I don't think they really care. It's about keeping them in place, maybe comboing with a parasitic bomb, maybe deciding to actually pull the trigger, go after them. That's when it gets really scary because the Protoss can't micro whatsoever when they're fungled. But ShowTime's able to back away. Does lose some of his ground units by the looks of things. But continues to get some harassment in. Just a little bit. I mean, Serral losing 2 hatcheries right then and there is not... It's not that bad. Only if there was also an engagement. Which there really... Yeah, not really wasn't. Yeah, it really wasn't. It was, but was it though? So let's sacrifice one of the members and then continue on going. 500 minerals, not ShowTime's worst investment. Another base coming up on the left side as Jaggernaut starts to get splits. Void Ray little hit squad gets scouted out, actually. Something that could have gone after the base, sniped it, and recalled out. He might try to do the same on the left side and actually go off the hive next time around, but... Oh, Serral actually seems very knowledgeable about ShowTime's late game. He's actually making sure to spread these overlords, which at a 17, 18-minute PVZ, I feel like that's the last thing most people will be paying attention to. But his Overlord's going to be able to scout some things just a little bit faster, and yeah, scout any of those sneak attempts towards his hive. Army's in position as ShowTime. Oh, that's awkward. That's an awkward recall. But then again, also, we got some army on the right side. Voiders not being so sneaky this time around, just kind of ran forward. Prismatically aligned the hatchery. Zealots could be doing some more damage maybe to the Spore Crawlers. Gonna chill and die. Half of those are real, half of those are changelings. Oh, okay. Almost got the infestors. Serral's paying attention, though. I mean, kudos on trying to split the army. For either person, trying to split the army is far more interesting and maybe less likely to be catastrophic than just going full on like, okay, let's butt heads, but there's always that chance that half the army runs into the full army and it turns really sour fast. Serral's little ultra run-bys are starting to find some success. Killing probes, killing sack defense, that ShowTime not actually in a hurry to rebuild. He doesn't have that much of a bank. Serral seems to be slowly grinding the Protoss down. This base is not of the utmost importance that ShowTime just goes, guess I lost the base, I die. No, but he's having to worry about the implications of the future. Honestly, you really want to just go ahead and get all the bank that you possibly can so that when they do start to run by effectively, you're like, oh, I didn't need that base anyways. Whatever, man. But no, ShowTime does kind of need to actually mine out these minerals and hope that Serral isn't the one to mine them out, which is exactly what Serral's planning on doing. That's why it's concerning. Guessing most race skins are banned. They're actually not. Gameheart makes it so that the players themselves don't see any skins, they just see the basic stuff. So Serral chose the Ultra skin so we can see it, but ShowTime shouldn't be able to see it. Void Rays do respawns, but they're a bit alone. Not just against the Corruptors, but also against the Vipers. They really have to be careful. Little run-by starting to do some serious damage. Now the Carriers are without the Void Rays. You really do need everything together. ShowTime found out of position. The Void Rays not coming back to help defend because they need to defend the Nexus, which are not successful in doing anyways. The Nexus goes down. The carriers start to take hull damage from a lasting parasitic bomb, and the Void Rays might be chased down too. Serral is really starting to find some success. ShowTimE has a bank. He's maxed out. He's got most of his upgrades, all the important ones anyways. If he can take a good army fight, then fair's fair, but his economy is starting to be put into question. Especially as Serral starts to steal his own minerals from him. Nexus and the Natural could go down too. Nexus is not as important as perhaps all the technology. It's not really a determined game. Yeah, it just kind of feels like Serral's gonna win, yeah? Momentum seems to be on his side. These ultra run-bys are actually finding just the, just shy of actual defense spaces. You know, if ShowTimE has this amazing SimCity of 9 cannons with 10 shield batteries surrounding them, then even the ultras would have trouble against that, but in StarCraft 2, you're slapping things down in a hurry and when you can, so a couple of shield batteries wasn't enough. Now ShowTimE feeling very eager to return some damage. I don't know if he's gonna all in from here, but he's definitely gonna try and find some damage. If he can't, well, you might as well just tap out. Serral is going to defend with a pretty damn good army. He's gonna abduct a couple of units and then go soak up some more juice. I think one of the Vipers might have got target fired before it was able to escape. ShowTimE retains a higher army supply, but is now down to his original 4 bases, which means he's almost mined out. Well, actually, I think this was his 5th. This was his 4th. But still, this is his only base mining. And it is severely oversaturated. ShowTimE can at least get a little bit of confidence from how he bullied Serral there. Like, oh, maybe I can take an engagement. Oh, hold on, okay. But, doesn't feel so great for ShowTimE. Neural Parasite's on the way as well. Baneling's clad in on the structure, something that Serral can absolutely afford. Serral did lose his right side base and is only just now replacing it, so gotta also talk about the fact that his 4 bases are completely mined out. His 5th is at just half saturation, not even half minerals. Both of them have lost a lot of workers and been okay with the losses so far, because they're replacing it with army, so very even supplies. And it is, you know, it's definitely worth pointing out that Zergs never feel comfortable in that situation. If their bank isn't in the 10,000s, and they're still facing a maxed out Protoss army, I think Zerg actually don't feel too comfortable there. They're like, well, I can only remake, you know, 10 Corruptors, not 40, so that's concerning. And that's not even me being facetious, it's actually concerning. If everything goes really well for ShowTimE, it has to go really well, though, and that wasn't a great start, losing 2 of the carriers. High Templar is also in danger of getting repeat fungal, is always scary. Should never actually happen, but it can. Oh, ShowTimE being down and resources lost is also not really what you want. I'm actually surprised he's so far down in it, because their banks are awfully similar. And I thought Serral was mining a decent amount too, but apparently not. Consistent loss of this right side base may be more impactful than I gave it credit for. But still. I don't know if I'm Zerg biased or Serral biased. I feel like Serral's gonna win. ShowTimE has gotten up to 16 Void Rays. 6 carriers, still a handful of army units on the ground too. Not really a whole lot of resources to go for a lot of run-bys, not to mention you don't have supply for it. So he is sending a lot of his ground army to do his run-by, instead of like pure Zealots or pure DTs or something. Actually, he never got a Dark Shrine, did he? Probably not worth it. This could be a nice little 1-2 punch. Going after the Hive is dangerous, and he's actually, as soon as he sees an Overseer, he's like, I'm out of there. Oh, cool use of Neural Parasite. Just turned most of the Protoss army on itself. Make sure to A-click the actual units down. And there you go. Easy breezy cleanup there for Serral. Takes out most of ShowTime's ground army. Now, ShowTime had to be willing to lose either one of those armies, and it makes more sense to save the Void Ray one. He has replaced it with a couple of air units. Feedback's looking good, but Fungal on top of the High Templars. Maybe the Broodlords get the attacks on them. They are chasing. Another Fungal goes down too. And only one High Templar lives. ShowTimE is starting to run out of gas. Okay, well, that's the last High Templar gone. Vipers still have energy, and there's a lot of Vipers at that. This is actually really, really, really scary for ShowTimE. ShowTimE has replaced his High Templars with the remaining bank, but he can't do much more than that. They're gonna have a feedback and maybe storm in like 10 seconds, but Serral's already encroaching. Bye-bye, mothership. And the run-bys are trying to go ahead and take down any remaining structures that could actually be used. Oh, good use of burrow, too. Very obnoxious. Yep, feels like Serral should win this one. At the very least, Serral has managed to accrue quite a gas bank, and infestors certainly aren't a bad thing to have here. He has finally gotten this base up and running, and might again reach towards this base, but ShowTimE finally might be able to get the hive. There you go. Recall out after he gets the hive and the spawning pool, whatever else he can possibly grab, but as soon as he's an overseer, yep, get out of there. Where did they get recalled to? Ah, the 4th. It has left a bit of an opening. ShowTimE responds to the run-bys with his carrier High Templar army. His Void Rays then alone to try and defend the left side bases. Not worth it. They're gonna have to let that one go. Wait for their buddies to collect the army together and then maybe try and take an engagement. They really did need that base. They really did. Not even bothering trying to go for this base or even retake this one. Very little resources on this. Serral needs to actually butt heads. And then it'll be like, okay, 100% he's won or not. But until the actual real engagement comes down, there's always a chance for ShowTimE. Things go really well for him. He's got 16 Void Rays, 10 Carriers, 2 Archons, and 5 High Templars, which probably will have 2 Storms apiece. Or feedbacks, whichever. Versus 13 Broodlords, 26 Corruptors, 6 Vipers, and 8 Infestors. That's a lot of feedback in right there. Actually breaks down the middle. Kind of forgot that was a thing. Starting to actually bully ShowTimE. Starting to strangle him. The noose is tightening. ShowTimE is going to try and plan his defenses on the right side now after the left side gets taken. So a little bit left, right, left, right. The final engagement's coming soon. Broodlords, there's just so many of them. The Broodlings are actually killing the High Templar. As ShowTimE tries to save them, he's now down to 2. Make that 0. He's got 1. He's got 1. 1 High Templar, 2 more is all he can afford to warp in. The gas mining on the top left base is about to be cut short. Oh, it's down to 300. He's got 2 more High Templars from this base, and that's it. That is it. I don't know how ShowTimE takes the engagement now. I think he really had to get the jump on Serral somehow. But that's, very unlikely in this type of game, where he's been on the defensive far more often. He does get a couple of feedbacks, but there's still plenty of Vipers. Haven't even talked about the Fungals and our Parasite quite yet. There's a couple of Fungals. Spore Crawlers are adding to this as ShowTimE just, he's realizes he's going to lose one way or another. Pushes into the unfavorable scenario, tries his best, and loses. GG. Serral will take that 3rd and final spot of the ASUS ROG European qualifier. ShowTimE could play in the North American one if he wanted. I'm going to guess he doesn't.